with Taylor, such a great tennis player, such a great athlete. It's always really tough playing against you.
Imagine being hailed as the future of tennis, only to see yourself compared endlessly to legends, expected to match their greatness before you've even had time to breathe. This is the journey of Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz isn't just another rising star. He's been called the new Nadal, the future Djokovic, even the next GOAT. At just 20, he shattered records, stunned veterans, and captured hearts. But what happens when your every win triggers comparisons, and your every mistake sparks backlash? Alcaraz's journey isn't just about youth and promise. It's about pressure, perception, and one shocking revelation. A secret he claims is the key to Novak Djokovic's dominance. A secret that might just unlock his own path to GOAT status. This isn't a typical rise-to-fame story. It's a tale of admiration, imitation, controversy, and transformation. From humble beginnings in Murcia, Spain, to defeating Djokovic in front of the world, Carlos Alcaraz is more than just a player. He's the new face of a sport in flux. So what is Djokovic's secret, and how did Alcaraz uncover it? Let's dive into the rivalry, the revelations, and the redemption arc of tennis's newest phenomenon. Born in El Palmar, Murcia, Spain in 2003, Carlos Alcaraz's love for tennis wasn't just accidental, it was inherited. His father, a former tennis academy director, introduced him to the game when he was just 4 years old. But Alcaraz wasn't just a kid with a racket. From the moment he stepped on court, there was something different. A mix of raw power, unfiltered passion, and a relentless competitive spirit that belied his age. By 12, he was already making waves in the junior circuits. At 15, he turned professional. At 16, he was training under Juan Carlos Ferrero, a former world number 1. By 17, he had broken into the ATP Top 100. In 2021, the world took notice. He made headlines by defeating top players and showing an aggressive baseline game, drop shots that defied logic, and footwork that danced on clay and hard courts alike. But it was 2022 that changed everything. At just 19 years old, Carlos Alcaraz defeated Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic in the same tournament, Madrid Open, won the US Open, becoming the youngest world number 1 in ATP history. Captivated fans with a style that felt both vintage and futuristic. He was young. He was fearless. He wasn't just playing tennis, he was redefining it. Suddenly, every sports outlet was buzzing. Is Alcaraz the next GOAT? But with fame came expectations, dangerous ones. Voiceover. At first, everyone loved the kid from Murcia. But as the wins piled up, so did the critics. Fans adored him, until he beat their idols. Traditionalists applauded his hustle, but questioned his shot selection. At Wimbledon 2023, he faced Novak Djokovic in the final. It was more than a match. It was a clash of generations, philosophies, and legacies. Alcaraz defeated Djokovic in 5 grueling sets, a stunning upset that made headlines globally, but then came the whispers. Too flashy, too reliant on flair, doesn't have Djokovic's discipline, commentators began dissecting his drop shot obsession, questioning whether it would hold under pressure. Some accused him of trying too hard to mimic Federer's artistry without Djokovic's grit. One critic even said, Alcaraz is entertaining, but he won't last. Not like Novak, and it wasn't just fans. In locker rooms, senior players whispered that Alcaraz was being overhyped. Some believed he hadn't paid his dues yet. He hadn't earned the comparisons to Djokovic, the man with 24 Grand Slams, years of grind, and a psychological fortress. Then came the surprising moment. In an interview, Alcaraz said, I realized Djokovic's biggest weapon isn't his serve or his forehand. It's his mind, his ability to suffer. That one quote lit the fire. Critics questioned, was Alcaraz finally admitting he wasn't ready? Or was this the beginning of something deeper? After his Wimbledon triumph, Alcaraz's momentum faltered. At Cincinnati, he lost to Djokovic. At the US Open, he fell short in the semis. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Maybe it was a fluke. He peaked too early. He's cracking under pressure. Social media turned toxic. Memes mocking his baby face and show-off drop shots went viral. Sponsors stayed, but quieted their campaigns. Commentators speculated on mental fatigue, overtraining, and whether Alcaraz was too emotionally driven. It wasn't just professional, it was personal. he admitted in a press conference. There were nights I couldn't sleep. I was trying to play like someone I'm not. The weight of comparisons to Djokovic, Nadal, even Federer, it crushed the joy he once had. He stopped smiling on court. Matches became battles, not just with opponents, but with expectations. His team started noticing changes. Less laughter during training, more silence. Less creativity on the court, and then came the toughest blow. He began doubting himself. The same hands that once caressed the ball with elegance now shook under pressure. He was 20 years old and drowning in a legacy not even his. But out of that darkness came clarity. Something changed in Alcaraz. He stopped trying to be the next Federer. He stopped trying to imitate Nadal's brute force. And most importantly, he stopped trying to out-Djokovic. Instead, he looked inward. He revisited his core. The child who played barefoot in the Spanish sun. The teen who smiled after every point, win or lose. With the help of Juan Carlos Ferrero, he rewired his training. But the biggest shift? His mindset. He studied Djokovic, not just his game, but his mentality. He suffers better than anyone, Alcaraz said. He embraces the pain, the doubt, the pressure, and turns it into power. So Alcaraz trained his mind. Breathing exercises, visualization, emotional regulation, limiting screen time, more solitude, less noise. He began journaling after matches, not stats, but emotions. His team called it Project Grit. He focused on delayed gratification, long-term resilience, and letting go of the GOAT talk. He didn't want to be Novak. He wanted to be Carlos. The version of himself that plays with joy, but endures like a warrior, the tennis world noticed. His on-court demeanor changed. He celebrated less, but smiled more. He didn't play for applause, he played for mastery. This was no longer about beating Djokovic. It was about becoming the first Carlos Alcaraz. Then came Roland Garros 2025 all. Eyes were on Alcaraz. In the semifinals, he faced Djokovic. This wasn't just a match. It was a psychological battle. Past versus present, mind versus body, experience versus evolution. The match went 5 sets. Tiebreak after tiebreak. Rallies that lasted over 30 shots. Both men gasping. Both refusing to break. And then, match point. Alcaraz tossed the ball, served wide, charged the net, and finished with a soft drop volley that barely kissed the clay. Silence. Then the eruption. He had done it. Beaten Djokovic. On clay in Paris, but this time there was no scream, no fist pump. He simply walked to the net, shook Novak's hand and whispered, "Thank you." That moment went viral. Not the win, but the respect, the humility, the maturity. The boy was now a man, not chasing Djokovic, but standing beside him. Even Novak later said, Carlos has what it takes, not just the talent, but the discipline. He'll go far if he stays true to himself. And that was the moment everything shifted. Fans didn't just see Alcaraz as the future. They saw him as the now. Carlos Alcaraz is no longer the next Nadal. He's no longer the kid who beat Novak. He's something more dangerous. The man who learned Djokovic's secret and made it his own. His legacy is still being written. But what's clear is this: he didn't rise by talent alone. He rose by confronting pressure, backlash, and his own inner chaos, and transforming it into quiet, steady dominance. In a sport obsessed with records, rivalries, and legends, Alcaraz dares to write his story, not as a copy of anyone before him, but as a blueprint for what comes next. But here's the question: will he match Djokovic's 24 slams? Or will his legacy be defined by something deeper, the ability to evolve? Carlos Alcaraz has shown us that tennis is more than just physical endurance. It's a mental battlefield. And sometimes, the biggest victories happen inside. He revealed Djokovic's secret, but the real secret may be his own resilience, growth, and refusal to let others define him. So now we ask you, is Carlos Alcaraz the next GOAT? Or is he carving a new category altogether? Let us know in the comments. Do you believe Djokovic's mental edge will keep him on top forever? Or is the future already here with Alcaraz? Smash that like button if this story inspired you. Hit subscribe for more powerful sports stories that go beyond the stats, and turn on notifications so you never miss another match-changing moment. This is not just tennis. This is legacy. This is a transformation. This is Carlos Alcaraz,